Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Danny. I know it's been a while since I've put out a video last, but I am trying to change that. So here we are. So today we are going to discuss the type of energy that we put out. So if we put out negative energy or positive energy, what we get back. If we put out negative energy, then we're going to get back negative energy. If we put out positive, then we get back positive. So what that means or what that looks like, if you go through, say, your day-to-day life and you're always grumpy, you cussing out everybody, you're stealing, you just being a god-awful person, okay? Well, what you're doing is setting the tone for what you get back. So whatever you put out is what you're going to receive. Okay. But if I'm going about my day and I'm just feeling so grateful and I'm happy and just showing love to everybody without being a people pleaser. You don't have to be a people pleaser. And we'll talk about that in another video. But if you're going about your day and you're just, showing gratitude, you're not in a bad mood, because we do know that we choose our moods, our feelings. So we are getting that back. For instance, if I go into the grocery store and I'm smiling and, at people that just maybe passing me by on the aisle, 9 times out of 10, they're going to smile back, right? Okay. So it's like a mirroring effect. Occasionally you might run into somebody that won't smile back and maybe they're having a bad day. But do we allow that to dampen our mood? No. We have the choice. We could or we can't. And if we choose not to and we just continue about our day, then guess what? We still reap that good karma, that good energy. The person that was having a bad day that did not receive that good energy from you is probably going to continue throughout their day with bad negative energy, right? So I'm trying to figure out how I can explain this a little easier for some of those that may not get it. Let me give an example. Okay, so one day I was getting off from work and I was in a gas station. I think I stopped at the gas station and get a soda and maybe some gas or whatever. So I'm standing in line. In front of me is this lady with her little boy. Well, the little boy was looking up at me and I looked down at him and I smiled and I just kind of, politely waved. And I may have said hi. Well, she turns around and she just kind of bites my head off. But again, I didn't let her mood change my mood because just because she chose to have negative energy don't mean I have to accept her negative energy in return and also go about my rest of the day with negative energy. No. So I continue to smile and go about my business. I didn't get an attitude back. I didn't snap back at her or anything like that. I'm sure her little boy was probably like, why mommy do that to that nice lady? But I was confused as to why she snapped because it wasn't like I asked him for his name or was trying to hold a conversation or anything like that. I literally was just speaking. So anyway, I go about my day. So that's what I mean. Now, I could have engaged a little further with my positivity, but with her reaction to me, it was so strong that I just didn't want to engage anymore because, again, we can choose our feelings, but we also, with discernment, can decide if we want to continue to engage or not. And I chose not to engage because I felt with further engagement, if she continued to give me her negative energy, I may end up receiving that negative energy. But with that short encounter, I chose not to receive the negative energy. So with that being said, I'm almost positive that that came back to her. She probably one day was having a really good day, positive energy, and probably done something similar, and then somebody give her the same energy that she gave me, negative energy. Do I know that for a fact? No, but what I do know for a fact is what goes around comes around. It's a fact. Now that is a fact. It's physics. It's energy. So, but I have encountered negative energy where I chose to continue to engage. And because I continued to engage, it actually turned that negative energy that that person was carrying into a more positive energy. And I'll give you an example of that so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so I used to own a nail salon, and this particular day, I want to say I was either cleaning the windows or I was putting up a new like a new poster in the window. I can't remember exactly which I was doing. I was on the outside of the window, so I'm almost sure that I was probably cleaning the windows. And it was just right at dusk. It wasn't quite dark yet, but it was like right at dusk. And excuse me. As I'm doing that, I hear from behind me, like, I don't know, it was like a person cussing or, just something that caught my attention that made me turn around. Well, when I turned around, I noticed a guy walking through the parking lot. And he was just ranting and raving to himself. Nobody was with him. And he seemed to be in a really not so good mood. And don't ask me why, but something inside of me made me speak out to him. And I said, "Hey, what's going on? How are you doing?" And he immediately goes off and not so good, that, blah, 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 and ranting and raving again. And I just look at him, I said, "It sounds like you need a hug." And he's still just, he's going off. And I didn't know this guy, complete stranger, never seen him a day in my life. So I'm walking towards him and he's still kind of going off. I said, can I speak to you for a second? So he actually meets me halfway. I was like, "What's going on?" And he tells me he just got out of jail, and his baby mother took the money that he sent to her to help him, or no, I'm sorry. He had sent his baby mother money for his son. She misused the money and found another boyfriend while he was incarcerated. And I stood there and I listened to him, and I told him, I said, "Yeah, you definitely need a hug." I hugged him again. We talked, and I talked to him. He was talking about, unaliving his baby mother. And I told him that would not be a good choice. And, I just kind of talked to him. So I'm not going to go through the whole story because I didn't get this guy's permission, although I did not use his name. But I won't give the whole story. But I did continue to engage with him. And before the end of the conversation, he had completely turned around. His whole attitude, his whole mood had turned around. And he no longer wanted to hurt his baby mother, although he was still very much upset with her. But he understood my point of view and my side of, I gave him another way of looking at the situation. And so, that sat with him. And he went on about his business. And to make a long story short, he ended up giving me his number. I checked in on him. And we ended up keeping in contact for a short period of time. So the next time I saw him, he was clean cut. Guy looked, I mean, he looked like he had did a total turnaround. I mean, a total 160. And especially compared to the day that I actually encountered him. And I almost did not recognize him. I think had he not approached me first, I don't believe I would have noticed him or recognized him. So he spoke, we talked. I told him how good he looked and everything, and that, I was proud that he was still on the street and didn't get in trouble and everything. And he thanked me for the conversation and taking the time out to speak with him and just loving on him and caring just from a stranger, just as a stranger, just for caring for him. So we departed. He went about his business. I went back to work. This was again at the salon. And then we ended up encountering each other again. And again, it was a good encounter. He looked good. He just seemed like he really needed somebody at that time. And I was there. I think God literally put me in his path at that particular time and that moment to stop him from doing something that was going to completely change his life, change his son's life, change his baby's mother's life, and probably the rest of his family's life as well. I mean, because think about it. When we make bad choices, it don't just affect us. It affects all of those around us as well. So that's why we need to, before we make irrational decisions, we need to sit back. No matter how pissed we are, we need to sit back and step back and think about the consequences of our actions before we actually follow through with those actions, right? Because we don't want to do something that we can't come back from. So, but yeah, so I lost all contact with this guy. But like I said, last time I seen him, he was doing well for himself. He had turned everything around. So that is my examples of when to engage or when to receive negative energy and when not to receive negative energy. And again, I didn't receive the negative energy, but I chose to engage with that negative energy anyway, because at that particular moment, something inside me wanted to step in and help this guy. And I still to this day just, it blows my mind to think about it. It's almost like I didn't have control over my own mind and body at that particular time, to be honest. Even my nail techs at that time, they were even surprised that I even done that. And I shocked myself too. I had to actually go sit in my office after that and kind of reflect on what had just happened, because it literally took me by surprise. But had he showed more violent tendencies, or I don't know, I may not have engaged. I don't know. But I chose to engage. I chose still not to receive that negative energy, but instead I decided to take his pain and transmute it or transform it, or however you want to word it, into positive. And he received the positivity. So again, what we put out in the universe, we get back. That's anything. That's energy. That's literally anything. So just always remember that when you are going about your day and you're in a pissy mood or whatever, just think about that. We can choose the way we feel, and we can choose whether we want to accept negative energy in our lives at that particular time or not. Okay? I hope this message made sense. This is my actual initial first recorded blog. So hopefully you guys will stick with me and grow with me and learn with me and heal with me and just be a part of my community. Okay? I thank you guys so much, and I'm so grateful to have you here watching my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.